Okay, I can do this. Let's get this over with and get back to Dragon Ball. So, I was going to talk about Top Cat the movie for a viewer recommendation, but turns out they want me to watch Top Cat Begins. Regardless, here's a character from the 60s who's getting updated for modern audiences. Top Cat was one of many cartoon sitcoms by Hanna-Barbera, with a formula matching that of Huckleberry Hound, The Flintstones, Yogi Bear, and then some. The cartoon even had famous comedians writing for it at the time, like Harvey Bullock, Kim Platt, and Barry Blitzer. Top Cat was particularly popular in Latin America thanks to its unique voice acting and localization changes. And to celebrate the show's 50th anniversary in 2011, Top Cat the movie was released with great fanfare in Mexico, and less so elsewhere. That didn't stop them from producing a prequel movie in 2015, which is what we have here. The screenplay would be done by James Krieg, known for writing for various Scooby-Doo shows, along with Doug Langdale and George Ramirez Sares. Directing this was Andre Couturier, who seemingly grew up a Top Cat fan, and was the director for Kung Fu Magoo, which wasn't well received. And if the first Top Cat movie was any indication of quality, chances are we're not gonna like this one as much. But will it be that bad? Let's find out with Top Cat Begins. We open at the Starlight Club in New York City, where some funny stuff happens with rich people. What? The rich seem to shed money everywhere they go, so let's take some. But now it's time to meet the main character, Top Cat, voiced by Jason Harris Katz, who's reprising his role from the previous Top Cat movie, and is best known as Chad in Codename Kids Next Door. Joining him are Fancy Fancy, voiced by Matthew Piazzi, Choo Choo and Brain, both also voiced by Jason.
The Starlight Nightclub. You'll never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Also, that animation. Both movies were done by Anima Studios, and although the first movie tried mixing 2D animation with 3D backgrounds, here it's 100% CGI. At least it makes it more consistent, though movement is a little stiff. At least they got the jiggle physics down because that's important, right? Anyway, the cats seem to be on a rescue mission. They try dodging this manager or whoever by posing as health inspectors, and Top Cat has a way with words.
With all the violations, it's a miracle people don't explode on contact with your food. I had to give you a health rating of, Z. Z minus.
What? No. Surely, Monsieur Snagglepussy, the things you found could be fixed.
This is where you bribe me?
But of course, Monsieur...
Well, if it's that easy to get money, how are they still in business? But Top Cat isn't satisfied and wants to see their owner.
But it must come from Mr. Big.
Mr. Big, you say?
Peh, how bad could he be?
We have, a petty situation.
I hate situations.
Oh, so Mr. Big, voiced by Laurie Fraser, is apparently a major crime boss who turns people into cement statues as punishment. He realizes that he's being conned, since he is trying to buy off the real health inspector right this second. But while he sends the goons to go beat up the cats, he also wants the manager guy, or whoever, to beat himself up too.
Oh.
The goons meet the cats in the elevator, and how do our heroes deal with this?
Cheese it, boys!
Run away! Run away! Run away!
Because you know I'm all about that bass, no trouble.
Well, at least it makes sense to have a song play this time. They need to get out of here somehow. I didn't know Ferletta was so good that she could sing without moving her mouth. The cats jump down a dumbwaiter chute, only to get stuck on it as it's about to break. At that point, this motorcycle cat, who we actually saw earlier, seems to offer aid.
Not because we're desperate, because we're not.
Okay, I like. We are desperate. Please help.
Why should I stick my neck out for you?
You were literally offering to help just now? Then turns out everything we're seeing takes place much later, because we rewind back to when Top Cat first came to New York to make an honest living. It's where he meets his future best friend, Benny the Ball, voiced by Chris Edgerly, who was modeled after his original voice actor, Maurice Gosfield.
Excuse me, my fine feline. What is it you're attempting to do?
Well, times are tough at home. My ma works a dozen jobs. I wanted to bring some extra dough to buy some food.
I should note that Benny is supposed to be the youngest member, which was why his Spanish voice sounded more childlike. Either way, Top Cat takes a liking to him and decides to have him join in on his business schemes.
In a partner. In other words, never work hard if you can get some poor schmuck to do it for you.
I suppose that's funny, but wouldn't they just call the cops? But the scheme works, which leads to Top Cat giving Benny his nickname.
Do you say Benny the Ball because I'm fat and I look like a ball? I like it.
It's also clear that Top Cat is swindling Benny by taking a large portion of the money, but Benny is too naive to notice. He even gives our main character his signature hat. So far, we do a good job of showcasing Top Cat as a character, but he does have a softer side when he protects two orphan cats from a recurring character from the original cartoon, Officer Charles Dibble, voiced by Bill Wobbly, who claims that the cats stole from a bakery. He's actually right, but Top Cat hides their stuff and shifts the blame. Of course, his advice to sucker people to give you things instead of stealing is still bad, but why were the kids stealing?
If we don't, he'll burn down the orphanage we live in.
Who will?
The strongest, roughest, baddest tough guy there is.
Dirty Dog?
Bad dog.
Charity for the poor. Oh!
Oh, well, he might as well be Dirty Dog. What kind of asshole would want to burn down an orphanage? I can't really complain that we have a dog villain, but still, what did they ever do to you? Anyway, Top Cat gets punched by Bad Dog for daring to talk to them for mistreating kids. Then he and Benny go to see the latter's mother, who's living in a rundown apartment and barely making ends meet.
Wow! We got some orange peels. And real eggshells. Can we afford all this, Ma?
Only the best for company.
Jeez, how messed up is this world if even apartment cats eat like alley cats? Top Cat makes Benny his partner to hopefully improve his living conditions, leading to a short montage of them conning people, which would have looked better in a 2D animated setting. Meanwhile, at the police station, Officer Dibble gets to work in a different part of the city.
I'm giving you the blocks around Hoagie's Alley. Yeah, that's right. There's been a recent surge in cat-related shenanigans.
That kinda sounds racist when you really think about it. Dibble doesn't want this because that's Mr. Big's turf, but he doesn't have a choice, and this other guy jumps out a window upon hearing the name. Later, Top Cat tries one of his harebrained schemes until Dibble catches him in the act, leading to a chase scene. Not enough repeating backgrounds and reused animation like in the original. Fail. Some of this is kind of funny, especially here when the cats steal a toy car, which is slower than running, yet Dibble takes a kid's toy cop car and chases them the same way. And then, for no reason, there's a toy train running through an alleyway that the cats get past to avoid Dibble. It's stupid, yet it's funny. But then our heroes get ambushed by Bad Dog and crew, who turns out to be working for Mr. Big. TC and Benny are forced to either stop their scamming or pay a hefty share of their profits to the bad guys. Oh, and this cat lady companion is named Panther. Like Frilletta, she has a large chest. At least Trixie from the first movie had a design that would fit in with the rest of the Hanna-Barbera animal cast. These two just stand out. And speaking of first movie, look! Piles of DVDs for the Top Cat movie in the trash. Is this movie trying to acknowledge that the first film was bad? Moving on, Top Cat learns that Mr. Big has a lot of stolen diamonds. He wants to steal from them, but how is he going to accomplish that with Benny?
I am Dr. Sylvester Garfield, expert in infectious diseases, and you are touching a patient.
You sure he's diseased? He seems freaking possessed earlier. Well, Bad Dog is tricked into thinking that he's sick too, so TC gives him the only cure for it.
You asked for it.
By the powers of naughtiness, I command this particular drop of hot sauce to be really, really hot.
This movie's humor feels as bad as something you'll find from that one Marmaduke movie, which is saying something. To make a long story short, this gives Top Cat the opening to switch bags, so now he has the diamonds. Benny is given the bag to hide it so that they won't spend their stolen goods too quickly. And the first thing they do is get a reservation at the Starlight Club.
The French are glad to die for love.
I never knew Ferletta can sound like someone other than Meghan Trainor. Our heroes get caught when a waitress recognizes them. Now they end up meeting Mr. Big, who isn't happy that they spent one of his diamonds in his club. Top Cat tries to smooth talk his way out to no avail, and Mr. Big decides to show what he'll do to them if he doesn't get his diamonds back.
Were you paying attention?
I actually had something in my eye, so I missed most of it.
Now they have to lead the bad guys to where the diamonds are, which is at Benny's house. While Bad Dog gets devoured by the crappy chair, Benny heads to the kitchen where he supposedly hid the diamonds, only for them to be missing. Our heroes escape and tell Mrs. B to stay away for a while, then do the unthinkable, approach Officer Dibble for help. They tell him about Mr. Big, and Dibble is thinking about using them as bait. But there's a problem. Mr. Big put a bounty out on the two. $50,000.95. Huh. He did this so that other people would be interested in catching the cats. Even though these would be the same people who are probably being extorted by him. But really, what is this? John Wick? Is everyone a bounty hunter? No, I refuse to say that the humor in Marmaduke was better. I absolutely won't admit it.
I'm an experienced officer. This is humiliating.
Benny, did you use that diaper?
I'm just trying to be authentic.
Babies! They're babies!
So, this little subplot of a police officer helping someone accused of a crime they didn't commit is very Roger Rabbit-like, huh? I mean, if Ferletta wasn't already a Jessica Rabbit clone, I would have doubts. Of course, he doesn't even bother staying with them the whole time, since earlier he suggested that his grandmother could protect them instead. So he just needed to drop them off at the train station. But good thing the villains are idiots.
You're just gonna let your kids go on a train by themselves?
Oh, they are very mature for their age, so I'm sending them to college earlier.
Loser! You're a loser!
Top Cat is sad that things turned out like this, but now he and Benny go to Boonesville to meet Granny Dibble, voiced by Charlie Adler, who seems like an even more extreme version of Granny Puckett from Hoodwinked.
Alice, to your new home. We have to get going.
This whole place is full of Southern Confederate goons.
At least she hates the Confederacy? That's nice. She seems to bounce between Buster Rabbit and the red guy from Cow and Chicken.
Half a cracker. There's two of you.
But,
Are you arguing with me, maggot?
She forces them to do chores and jump out of a plane for some reason. And now Top Cat is even more sad because he spent his whole life avoiding work. He might be in luck though, because after getting hit with a shovel, he ends up meeting his other future friends from the TV show, and who we saw at the start of the movie. They were in the circus until they lost the lion and were thrown out. Now they're looking for a job, and Top Cat takes advantage by getting them to do his chores. This is also where things between TC and Benny get tense, because Top Cat is still upset over the loss of the diamonds. Anyway, Granny Dibble doesn't question how all the chores got done, And now the cats head to the bakery to start a scam as health inspectors. But one of the dogs from earlier in the movie reports this to Mr. Big, who sends over his goons to put a stop to all that. Guess who's coming to the rescue?
Get your stinking paws off my cat!
Jeez, Granny, what war were you in? She tells the boys to run while she takes care of the goon squad with her massive artillery. Time to take the train again, but not before making these new cats honorary gang members, who have to pay a maintenance fee because of course they do. TC and Benny take the train back to the city, and Benny ends up spending the money their friends gave them on a Twinkie bar.
All right then. I guess we'll have to walk to my old friend Officer Dibble.
I mean, you gave him the money to hold on to when you know that's a bad idea. He even makes an example out of Benny and kicks him out of the group. Benny goes back home and we learn that Mrs. B had the diamonds all along, and she used them to make a necklace for Floretta at the Starlight Club. Benny then goes off to try and get the diamonds, while the motorcycle cat from earlier is watching him. Meanwhile, Top Cat visits Dibble again to tell him what happened. Since Dibble needs them both to make the trap work, they visit Mrs. B to figure out where he went. He's already at the club, inside Floretta's dressing room. I like to remind you that he is the youngest of the cat gang, who lives with his mother and was given a younger sounding voice in the Spanish version of the show, and presumably the movie. So here is a minor watching an adult strip. What even is this movie? At least the necklace is there, except the diamonds look nothing like the ones from before, and Benny knocks out Floretta by accident, which should give him an opening until someone comes in wanting to talk with her. But listen to this dialogue.
Mr. Shaw, they're demanding an encore. You gotta get out here right away.
Hey, what's the problem?
Mr. Shaw, we need her to come out right away, but she doesn't answer.
Mr. Chat, step aside.
So is Floretta a trans woman? Or are these guys using the wrong honorific? They still used she for a pronoun, so maybe I'm missing something. Either way, Benny dons a disguise to pass off as her. And it fools everyone.
But I prefer a man who lives and gives.
This gag doesn't work at all. Giving the original cat characters more human characteristics not only sets them apart from the Hanna-Barbera designs, but it makes this type of gag even harder to pull off. I don't want to accuse this movie of having some transphobia, but...
A kiss may be great.
Oh yeah, I should probably note that this movie has a ton of Hanna-Barbera references. I would have pointed them out if this movie was better. Anyway, Top Cat and Dibble arrive as Benny gets his cover blown. He manages to give TC the diamonds, but now he's being taken away to see Mr. Big.
Oh, get up. They're getting away.
Ah! Hey! That's the cat Mr. Big is offering a reward for!
Thanks, George Jetson! Now TC actually wants to save Benny, but Dibble gets him out and tells him to leave since he's the cop and it's his responsibility. Gotta say, it's pretty interesting how these two are working in lockstep for most of the movie, which is really different from how they interact in the original cartoon. Dibble even gives our title character money, and he uses that and another diamond to go elsewhere.
Well, there's platinum class. It's just like first class, but you get to rest your feet on a tourist class person.
Heh, I guess that's true. But then as Top Cat looks at his hat, his mind wanders to the memories he had with Benny. So he immediately heads back to Dibble, who just so happens to be with the other cats he befriended. They're all gonna help rescue Benny. And now we skip ahead to how the movie started. Top Cat tells Motorcycle Cat to take him to Mr. Big. But instead, we get a bit of backstory.
Baby, away from me! I love Eleanor so much!
Basically, Mr. Big destroyed his motorcycle because he delivered him cold pizza one time. So now he wants revenge. And turns out this is the final part of Top Cat's gang from the original cartoon, Spook. voiced by Ben Diskin. TC decides to let Spook take him to Mr. Big in exchange for getting Benny out. While the exchange goes well, Mr. Big also gets the diamonds and decides to use his goons to kill Spook. But here comes Fancy Fancy to distract everyone by putting on a Top Cat mask to draw away attention.
I want Top Cat's blood.
This is such a dumb movie. Before Mr. Big can have Top Cat shot, the entire mob comes out of the elevator like a stampede. They all want money, but Mr. Big has the real Top Cat, so...
Box already!
Well, that was dark. Anyway, that's the end of the movie. I know. It was a tape recording. The real Top Cat goes into one of his wacky disguises to trick the people into hunting Mr. Big. In exchange, they get to share the stolen collection he has, valued at $50,001. Mr. Big counters by sending his goons, but...
Was that French? I never could resist French.
They won't last past the credits. Basically, each of the circus cats, except Brain, does something Top Cat taught them. Even Benny gets the diamonds back. By the end, Top Cat is able to stop Mr. Big from escaping and gives a speech on the power of friendship.
The friends thing was kind of cheesy. Oh, I know. Hey, Mr. Big!
I hate you, Top Cat. He and Benny reconcile, and the gang are free to do whatever. Mr. Big is taken to the police.
We caught the nasty beast who's terrorizing the city.
You caught my mother-in-law?
Hey, only I get to make the fake ending credit joke. Top Cat buries the diamonds, but once he hears that the orphanage from earlier was closing, he tells the kids to go bury their tree in the spot that his diamonds are, so they can dig it up on their own time. I'm only happy they didn't follow this up with the kids taking his earlier advice, so this is a rare instance of Top Cat doing a good deed. Otherwise, he tells his new friends that they'll be making this area their new fancy place, which is just the back of a bowling alley. But to them, it's perfect.
Top Cat! The indisputable leader of the gang. He's the boss, he's the whip, he's the number one hitter. He's the most tip-top Top Cat.
Yeah, I can see why this movie got panned. Because it wasn't very funny. Like, holy hell, the gags in this are all kinds of cringe. They're almost as bad as Marmaduke, only stopping short of overly gross-out humor. The plot could have made for a funny movie, but it sometimes falls into mean-spiritedness given how the main character acted. It's an example of an origin story that didn't need to happen if all they do is make Top Cat even more of a jerk to his friends than in the show. And the animation doesn't quite deliver, especially with how they mix Hanna-Barbera designs with originals that don't quite fit in. Maybe the jokes were better in the Spanish dub, but I can't say that the humor was all that funny past the 1960s, and no amount of Hanna-Barbera references will convince me otherwise. To put it simply, I don't like this movie. I'm the media hunter. Media's my prey, and reviewing them my way.
Whose intellectual close friends get to call a PC?
Who's next?
Top Cat! The indisputable leader of the gang.